Okay, let's just unpack this right out of the gate. We usually think of poverty as a simple arithmetic problem.
Right, yeah, like basic math.
Exactly. You look at a bank account, you see the income minus the expenses, and if the number is negative or zero, that's poverty. It feels like a math problem.
But it's not.
No, it's not. And the deep dive we're doing today flips that idea completely on its head. The source material we're looking at today argues that poverty isn't just arithmetic, it's actually physics. Specifically, it's a gravitational force.
It is a really fascinating reframe. Because instead of looking at poverty as a static state, like, I just don't have money right now, the source describes it as a closed-loop system.
Right.
It's a trap that is designed, almost mathematically, to keep people inside. And the core argument here is that because it acts like gravity, you can't just, walk out of it. You have to treat the exit strategy like literal rocket science.
Literally rocket science. I love this analogy because it makes the struggle make sense. The source talks about this concept of escape velocity.
Yeah, think about the physics of launching a rocket into space. To leave Earth's atmosphere, a rocket has to hit a very specific speed, which is escape velocity.
It has to fight gravity every single inch of the way.
Exactly. Now, here is the terrifying part of that analogy when you apply it to personal finances. If a rocket uses, say, 99% of the required fuel, but doesn't quite hit that specific speed, it doesn't get 99% of the way to the moon.
It crashes back down.
It falls all the way back to Earth. And in the context of our deep dive today, this explains why working sort of hard often feels like it yields literally zero results for the working class.
Yeah, you can work hard, save a little bit, climb halfway up the wall.
And then the car breaks down. Or rent goes up.
Gravity kicks in.
Gravity kicks in.
Yeah.
And you don't just fall back to where you started. The source argues you actually fall lower because now you're discouraged, you're exhausted, you've used up your fuel.
That is the poverty loop in a nutshell. It's this vicious circle where low income leads to stress, stress leads to bad decisions lead to having no assets, and no assets lead right back to low income.
Right. It's linear effort trying to fight a force that requires exponential effort.
So our mission today for you listening is pretty specific. We aren't talking about how to get rich.
Which the source actually calls the easy part.
I know, which sounds crazy until you read the reasoning.
It's a bold statement, but the logic holds up. Once you have momentum, keeping it is so much easier.
Exactly. But the hard part, the really hard part, is how not to be poor. We're going to reverse engineer this trap. We've got 5 specific chains or loops from the source material that hold people down, and we're going to walk through how to build the engine to break every single one of them.
And this starts with what is arguably the most insidious chain of all, the scarcity tax.
Yeah, this one hit me hard because it directly challenges that idea that poor people make bad decisions because they just aren't smart. You hear that all the time, right? Like, if they were smarter, they wouldn't be in this mess.
You hear it constantly. But the source points out it's actually the exact opposite. They cite a pretty famous study by Sendhil Mullainathan at Harvard.
Oh, right, the bandwidth study.
Yeah, they found that financial stress, just the constant worry about rent or bills, literally consumes your cognitive bandwidth. It drops your effective IQ by 13 points.
Wait, 13 points? That is a massive drop.
It's massive. To put that in perspective for you, that's the cognitive equivalent of losing an entire night's sleep or being a functional alcoholic.
Wow.
So when someone is in poverty, they aren't operating with a full processor. They are in survival mode. They can't plan for 10 years from now because their brain is hyper-focused on surviving the next 10 minutes.
That explains so much. It's tunneling. Like, if you're exhausted and your IQ is temporarily suppressed by intense stress, of course you take the payday loan. Of course you buy the unhealthy fast food. It's cheap, it's fast, and you literally do not have the bandwidth to cook a meal.
Precisely. You are making decisions under duress, and the system completely exploits this. Which brings us to the Vimes boots theory that the source mentions. It illustrates perfectly why it is so expensive to be poor.
I really love this example. So, you have a rich man and a poor man. The rich man buys a pair of high-quality boots for $50, and they last him 10 years, so his cost is basically $5 a year.
But the poor man doesn't have $50. He only has 10. So he buys the cheap boots. But those cheap boots fall apart after a year. So next year, he has to buy another pair for $10, and the year after that.
So over 10 years, the poor man spends $100 on boots, while the rich man only spent $50. The poor man spent double the money.
And his feet were wet the whole time.
That is just brutal.
It is. But that is the scarcity tax. You can't buy in bulk. so you pay more for toilet paper. You can't afford a dental checkup, so you pay for a root canal later. You pay late fees, overdraft fees. The system charges a premium for a lack of capital.
So, how do we break this first chain? Because if the problem is that our brain is being drained by stress, how do we get our IQ back? It sounds like a total catch-22. You
Right.
need money to get the IQ back, but you need the IQ to get the money.
The solution the source offers is something they call the buffer. And this is crucial for you to understand. The goal here isn't to invest. It isn't to make money grow. It's to save, specifically, $500 to $1,000.
Just sit on it. That feels counterintuitive when you have high interest debt.
Just sit on it. Put it in a completely separate account. This money is not for spending. It is to buy back your brain.
Die back your brain.
Yeah. Because when you have that $1,000 buffer, a car breakdown stops being a disaster that ruins your entire life and just becomes an inconvenience.
It turns a crisis into an errand.
Exactly. And that shift restores your cognitive bandwidth. It stops the panic. It allows you to actually look up and see the horizon instead of just staring at the ground right in front of you. You have to drain the swamp before you can build a skyscraper.
Okay, so we buy back our brain with the buffer. But now we have to deal with the second chain. And this one is very emotional. The source calls it the dopamine trap.
This directly addresses that common criticism we always hear. If they're so broke, why do they have the newest iPhone? Why are they buying branded sneakers?
Right. From the outside, it looks like incredibly irresponsible spending. But the source says this is biological.
It is entirely biological.
Yeah.
When you are in the poverty loop, your cortisol levels, your stress hormones are through the roof. You feel small. You feel invisible. Your brain is literally screaming for relief. It needs a win.
So buying something provides a dopamine hit.
Yes, consuming something provides that hit. It's self-medication.
It's an anesthetic.
It numbs the pain of reality. The problem, as the source points out, is that the release lasts about 20 minutes. But the debt, that lasts 20 years.
Which leads to a fundamental difference in mindset. The source says the poor view money as a way to buy pleasure, but the wealthy view money as a way to buy freedom.
That's the core distinction between liabilities and assets. A designer purse is a liability. It loses value the second you walk out of the store. A stock or a bond is an asset. It works for you while you sleep. The trap is that many people use money to feed the dopamine monster instead of buying their future.
So the solution here sounds pretty intense. They call it monk mode.
It is intense, but it's temporary. The idea is a radical elimination period, say 6 months. You cut absolutely everything non-essential. Netflix, eating out, Uber, new clothes. You strip life down to food, shelter, and transport.
That sounds absolutely miserable. I mean, honestly, who wants to live like that?
It sounds boring, yes. But the goal isn't just to save pennies. It's a neurological reset. You are actively rewiring your brain to stop getting dopamine from spending and start getting dopamine from saving.
Ah, I see. You're training yourself to get high on control rather than consumption.
Exactly that. Once you realize you don't need the shiny object to be happy, the system loses its power to manipulate you. You become dangerous to the system because you're finally free from that addiction.
Okay, so we've got our cognitive bandwidth back, and we've reset our dopamine. But we still have a major problem. We aren't making enough money. Which brings us to the third chain, the linear income trap.
This is the massive flaw in the time equals money equation. We are taught that if you want more money, you just work more hours, get a second job, do overtime, start a side hustle.
But time is finite. You only have 24 hours in a day.
Exactly. Which means your income is mathematically capped. You hit a ceiling no matter how hard you work.
But your expenses are not capped. The source calls inflation the silent killer. It's basically a tax on people who sell their time. Prices rise fast, but wages are sticky. They rise really slow. You're running up a down escalator that's moving faster than you are.
So working harder is just running faster on the escalator. It doesn't actually get you off it. The solution the source proposes is skill stacking.
This is actually my favorite concept from this deep dive. The idea is don't try to be the absolute best at one thing, because being the top 1% accountant or the best graphic designer in the world is incredibly crowded and ridiculously hard.
Right. Instead, be pretty good at 2 or 3 totally unrelated skills and combine them.
The example given is Scott Adams, the creator of the comic strip Dilbert.
Yeah, it's a perfect example. He wasn't the best artist. His drawings were super simple. He wasn't the funniest writer. He certainly wasn't the best businessman. But he was pretty good at all 3.
Yeah.
And when he stacked them together, he became entirely unique. He created a niche of one.
So, practically speaking, for you listening, if you're a waiter, don't just try to work more shifts. Learn copywriting. Suddenly, you aren't just carrying food, you're designing menus for the restaurant that sell high-margin items.
Or a construction worker who learns sales becomes a contractor who can close massive deals.
Yeah.
The goal is to detach your income from your hours. You want to become an asset, something rare, rather than a commodity which is easily replaceable. The market pays for rarity, not just raw effort.
That makes total sense. Okay, moving on to the fourth chain. This one is invisible but incredibly heavy. Social gravity.
The environment. You've heard the saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yeah, and the source brings up the crab bucket effect. I've heard this before. If one crab tries to crawl out of a bucket, the others will physically pull it back down.
It's a brutal visual.
Yeah.
And the source makes a really important clarification here. They don't pull you down out of malice. They do it because your escape highlights their imprisonment. It makes them feel unsafe.
Right.
If you start monk mode, or you start reading about finance, your old circle might say things like, who do you think you are? You think you're better than us.
That's the gravity pulling you back.
And we are biologically wired to conform to that gravity. We have mirror neurons. We subconsciously mimic the mood, the language, and the mindset of our tribe. If your tribe is constantly complaining, blaming the government, or wallowing in victimhood, you will download that exact operating system.
So the solution they give is ruthless isolation. That sounds really lonely.
It's about protecting your mind. You have to limit your exposure to the poison of constant negativity. But here's a really cool part. You don't need rich neighbors to upgrade your circle. We have the internet.
Virtual mentors.
Yes. You can spend your time with Albert Einstein, with Charlie Munger, with the greatest minds in history. When you read a biography, you are actively hacking your mirror neurons. You are choosing to be the average of the authors you read, not the people you happen to live next to. You build a new neighborhood in your mind.
I really love that concept. You get to choose your roommates in your head.
Exactly. You just download their operating system instead.
Okay, so we've cleared the mental space, the habits, the skills, and the social circle. Now we face the final boss, the fifth chain, the compound void.
This is the raw math of wealth. Einstein called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He famously said, he who understands it earns it, he who doesn't pays it.
And most people stuck in the poverty loop are paying it.
They are on the wrong side of the equation. Credit card debt at 20% interest, predatory car loans. They are paddling a boat upstream against a current that is way stronger than their arms. Every single day they wake up poorer than they were the night before.
Meanwhile, the wealthy are earning it. They wake up richer because their assets worked while they slept. It's the snowball effect.
The overarching goal of this entire deep dive is to get you from one side of that equation to the other, to stop paying interest and start earning it. And the source breaks this down into 3 stages of escape.
Let's walk through those. Stage 1 is survival.
Stop the bleeding. This is where you use that monk mode savings to kill your high interest debt. That debt is a vampire. You have to drive a stake through it. You simply cannot build wealth while paying 20% interest to a credit card company.
Then stage 2 is accumulation.
This is where you start buying productive assets. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars. The source says even $10 a day into a low-cost index fund is enough to start. You have to trust the math. You are building your own snowball. It looks pathetic at first, but it grows exponentially.
And finally, stage 3, freedom.
Escape velocity. This is the exact moment where the cash flow from your assets, your money making money, is enough to cover your basic survival needs. Once you hit that, gravity releases its hold. You no longer have to sell your time just to stay alive.
That is the ultimate dream. But it's a journey. Let's just quickly recap the map we just drew for everyone listening. We start by fighting the scarcity tax with a buffer. We break the dopamine trap with monk mode. We escape the linear income trap with skill stacking. We fight social gravity with virtual mentors. And finally, we cross the compound void by moving from paying interest to earning it.
It's a comprehensive system, but I really want to circle back to one crucial thing the source emphasized at the very end.
What's that?
That while these chains are very real, the economic forces are mathematically real. They're ultimately forged in the mind. The system absolutely wants you inside the cage. Your friends might want you inside the cage. Your own fear definitely wants you inside the cage.
But the door is open.
The door is wide open. The physics work if you apply the force. You now have the map. The only question is whether you have the courage to walk out.
It reminds me of the rocket analogy again. The launch is actually the most dangerous part of the whole trip. It's violent, it's shaky, it's incredibly loud.
It is. Leaving your old life behind, your old spending habits, maybe even your old friends, is traumatic. It requires that exponential effort we talked about at the start, but the alternative is falling back down.
So here is the provocative thought we want to leave you with today. We talked a lot about space, rockets, and escape velocity.
The silence of space, that ultimate freedom, that total lack of friction is waiting for you. But first, you have to be willing to survive the launch. You have to be willing to endure the immense pressure and the violent shaking required to actually break orbit.
The countdown has started. Are you ready to ignite the engine?
That is the ultimate question.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening.